Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar about protecting your reputation online. My name is Dr. Dion Klein, and I am the Director of Wise Academy. You know, today, reputation is so important. I know years ago, I had a fairly pronounced reputation in camera in the fitness industry, and there were times I didn't do very smart things, and it really did challenge my reputation a bit. And it was a very good learning experience in being in so-called the limelight, and also knowing that people, they will perceive different things and they may or may not be true. I remember a friend of mine, he was a bit, I guess, a bit upset with what people were talking about him, and he really wanted to be in that star capacity and really be out there in the limelight. And I said to him, I said, John Maxwell puts it very, very succinctly, is that as leaders, we're being out there in the limelight. You really need to determine, do you have Velcro skin or do you have Teflon skin? And if you have Teflon skin, anything that's thrown at you can just slide right off. If it's Teflon, if it's Velcro skin, then if you know about Velcro, when it comes together, that it has a ripping sound. And so that's the same thing, is that if some stuff is being thrown at you that might not be very positive, that when you try to peel it off, it can be, it can hurt, put it that way. So let's go into the material for today. So first off, what is reputation? Right? So reputation is the beliefs or the opinions that are generally held about someone or something. And as I said earlier, perception is in reality of the eyes of the beholder. So it doesn't necessarily matter what is real to you. It's what people actually think or perceive to be what is really about you. And, just even in the past 24 to 48 hours, I've met with a colleague. He's just recently landed here in Gold Coast, and he's getting the landscape. He's been here for about 2 months, and he's getting the landscape of who the people are and everything else like that. And he was even sharing with me some people's names of what their reputation is about town. And it's always interesting to hear what people's opinion is about other people that say I know of. And then I sometimes question, well, I wonder what people are saying about me that they think is real, yet they might not have any idea about my history or my business acumen, etc. It's just really what they perceive of what other people say. So it's almost like this Chinese whispers. The challenge today is that we have the internet. So the reputation can go very rampant, and especially if you are a very high-profile person, that can go viral, and it can really hurt people's reputation. And we see this in the media, where defamation with actors and actresses and musicians, that they will go after people who are trying to defame them, because it's their reputation that is at stake. And that's, even though they're in the limelight and they know that their reputation, people will say stuff about them, when it's legitimately incorrect and the media is portraying it, they do, in a sense, have every right to, in a sense, sue them. So once again, what is reputation? The beliefs or opinion that are generally held about someone or something. So even take a moment right now and question, well, what do people say about yourself? What is your reputation about in your community, in your industry? What reputation, what do you think about some other people, and what kind of reputation do you give them? And what is that based on? Is it based on that something that you personally have experienced with them over a given period of time? Or is it something that somebody else told you and it shaped your perception about them or their belief or opinion about them? We all mess up. I'll be the first to admit I've messed up. Sometimes I haven't delivered on certain things due to whatever excuse I came up with, all right? And it might have been a one-off. So a one-off, I'm not saying that one-offs can't hurt your reputation. They definitely can. But it's when you repeat the same behavior over time, that reputation will follow you. So if you have a reputation of, maybe always being late, or not doing stuff to, really in the detail that it's needed. Or the other side, if you have a reputation that you'll always rise to the occasion. I have a friend of mine, or actually a student, who I met up with somebody that she was doing an internship with, and he said, you know what? She's so consistent. Anytime I give her something to do, she rises to the occasion. She's a real doer. And, being a doer is a fantastic reputation to have. People may not expect you to know things all the time, but if you rise to the occasion, you want to give things a go. Fantastic reputation. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how can you protect your personal reputation, especially online. And whether it is your business or your personal reputation, the strategies are pretty much the same. So let's first look at your personal and professional reputation. Some statistics. More than 75% of companies and recruiters review candidate profiles online. So if you're looking for a job, you need to make sure that you got a pretty good reputation every place if people Google you. I just did that last night in preparing for this webinar, just to see where my name was coming up. And fortunately, it was coming up in places that I knew would be coming up, and it was all good. 70% have decided not to hire a candidate based on what they've found. Now that's pretty high, so once again, I think everyone needs to take their reputation quite seriously in today's internet age. And lastly, some won't hire you if they find little online information about you. So it's this catch-22s to a certain extent. You need to be online, you need to have a really good profile, and you need to make sure there's nothing negative being said about you. The other thing you could take and going, well, I'm not going to be online at all. Well, now people are going, well, in today's age, if you're not online, you don't have, say, a good LinkedIn profile. Well, are you really up to date with what's happening? So you need to really find that balance. First one, and I think this is so important, whether it is for your personal reputation or your business reputation, is know who you are first. Socrates said, know thyself. And that really sets up, what do you want to be known for? What is your brand? We're not going to go into personal branding in this webinar, but from a reputation point, know who you are first, set it, and then stick to it, right? Authenticity is so important in today's world. When I put my message online, my LinkedIn profile, maybe my personal web page, maybe even my Facebook page, I want to show that this is consistency. I want to show, that what you see is what you get. Whether you see him on LinkedIn, you see him on Facebook, you see him on Twitter, Pinterest, whatever platform you're using, it's consistent. And then that way the viewers are going to feel, you know what, there's an authenticity here, and I can trust this person. Because if they don't trust you, I can pretty much guarantee they will not do business with you. And in the online world, we just don't have that luxury of maybe seeing people in person. Now, your business reputation. If you have a business, this is also very important, even more so today than ever. And once again, even some of the business reputation stuff, at the end I'll talk about strategies. They will be good for whether you're protecting your business reputation or your personal and professional reputation. So let's look at some stats again. Consumer decisions are based on, and they're influenced by social media. That's all the research that I've looked at is pretty much consistent along the way. Reputation reviews are important. 93% of shoppers' buying decisions are influenced by social media. When you have that kind of statistic, you cannot but look at what people are saying about you online. 90% trust peer recommendations. So once again, you need to find out what people are saying about you, why they're saying about you, when they're saying it about you. You really need to monitor it because people will trust their peers. And especially on Facebook, if I have my Facebook friends, whether I know my Facebook friends or not, that's another story. But if I see some kind of recommendation and that person who's my Facebook friend obviously seems a bit legitimate because I've added them as my friend, I'm probably going to take their word much more so than, an advertisement of that saying this company does really good service. 14% trust advertisements. So like I just said, are you going to trust somebody's recommendation, or are you going to trust an advertisement that you see in the newspaper or in a magazine or even online? Which would you choose? Think about your own decision-making behavior. 86% of consumers say they have been swayed by negative reviews. I know myself, I'm guilty of that, right? If I see a negative review about a certain hotel, especially if I'm traveling overseas, I'll be a bit wary. And if there's a thread going, it wasn't very good, there was more negative than positive, I will not book that accommodation. 90% say that positive reviews have led them to purchase from a specific brand. So you can see just in regular decision-making aspects that these online reviews have an influence of people's purchasing decisions. So hence, you really need to know what people are saying about you to make sure that your reputation stays intact. So here's some trends that are happening that was done by a report from Reputation Institute. Industry reputations will affect individual companies. And I've seen this in education. Over the past 5 years, our industry has been really knocked around with regulations and people rorting the system, etc. And it's really affected the industry, which trickles down into the individual registered training organizations. Some companies have high reputations: car companies, computer firms, food companies. Other companies have average reputations, such as airlines and chemical companies and transport. And if you're in one of these industries, the banks, the tobacco companies, or telecom companies, well, you're in a low reputation. So when you know this, if these kind of reputations are afflicting your industry, you probably even need to work a little bit harder to set yourself out from the crowd to show that you're not a dodgy company, right? And to really get that trust and that faith back in from your customers. Employees will be your reputation ambassadors. This is a trend that we see happening now, and I don't think many companies really embrace this, right? I know one of the companies I work for, I keep saying to them, use me, use us, use the lecturers to be your ambassador, right? All companies strive to have their employees act as ambassadors for the organization, and you want them to be positive ambassadors. Once again, when they're out there and if they're wearing the uniform, what is their behavior? Because people will see that logo on the shirt and they'll make the assumption, geez, if that's how they're acting out here, well, this must be how they're acting in the workplace or representing that organization. So just be very careful that when you take the crew out for after work drinks, that they don't go off partying and set a bad example for your organization. Also, what people say. There's been many examples of people getting fired of putting negative stuff on their Facebook page, their personal Facebook page, and it got back to HR or the CEO, and they were gone. So once again, monitor what your employees are saying. It sounds like a big brother attitude, which unfortunately is a shame. At the end of the day, businesses, it's cutthroat out there. You really cannot afford to have anybody saying anything negative about you, especially if it's not true, or if it's perceived. So here's some personal and business reputation management strategies. The first one is register your personal name as a domain name. This it's not a fail-safe way, but once again, if you're serious about having your own brand, maybe if you want to be a professional speaker, register your first name, your surname, maybe your middle name, depending on how you want to be known. Even myself, I have drdion.com, I have Dr. Dion Klein, and I have Dion Klein. So I have those three. I didn't register as a .com.au. I've just registered as a .com. So you need to make the decision with regards to that. Secure your name across all platforms. So that means putting your name for your Facebook page, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever your brand is becomes very important. Publish positive things on social media. Now, I'm not saying it always has to be positive. I mean, if you are going to have a rant and there's just justification behind it, well, that kind of adds to your authenticity. But just be very careful about who you slam on Facebook or Twitter and everything else like that, because it is recorded and people can find out about it. Present yourself consistently. So if you believe in a certain thing, like if you're a big animal advocate and that's what you're promoting, then just always consistently be that, and be careful of your words. Use Google Alerts. Now, I think Google Alerts are great for monitoring yourself. If you want to know how to do it, seriously, just go to Google, type in Google Alerts or how to set up a Google Alert account, and you can go in there and type in certain words, and you will get notified if anybody is using your name or your company or your brand in a negative way or a positive way. So it becomes a very useful tool. If that doesn't work, or if it's too much of a hassle, you can also hire a professional online reputation management service, or you can even use a virtual assistant that can assist in monitoring your name or your brand. So all these strategies you can use for your personal, professional, or business reputation as well. Warren Buffett said, and I think this is very, very true, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. I had a situation with, they were a business partner and they were in the process of buying one of my companies, and something went a bit belly up. And I said to them, and it kind of came back to me once again with my reputation, and I said, I've worked very long and hard my entire life for a great reputation in the education sector. It's who I am. It's my vocation. It's why I've been put on this planet. I can destroy it quite well without anybody else's help. So once again, be very aware of who you have around you, what people are saying about you, because it will definitely make a difference. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you got some tips from this webinar, and I'll see you on another webinar soon.